Hey everybody, and welcome to a very special Sunday morning edition of Schmoedown Night in Canada. Well, I guess today it's Schmoedown Day in Canada. Why not? So I am, as usual, your friendly neighborhood soda, and joining me today, I have the boys from Mount Schmoedown, Ben and Ryan. How are you guys doing?
Well,
I'm doing very good, actually. Very good. I have so much to talk about, but I'm good.
Oh yeah, and if you guys see, we have a very special guest there on the screen with us, none other than Janine the Machine. How are you doing, Janine?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you for joining us on the show today. So we had three great matches happen this week. Ryan or Ben, do you want to kick us off with that?
Sure, definitely. Obviously, kicking off was the IG match between Brandon Hanna and Eric Zipper. Without a doubt, this match, I was really curious in how this was going to go. I mean, of course, we're well aware of Zipper and Hanna's ability as IG players, but of course, last year they didn't really much have their best shots in IG. Zipper, he won his redemption against Mike Kalinowski. That didn't happen. Brandon Hanna, he lost to Alex Damon after having a very great victory against Saul. So he was curious how this season was going to start off for both of them. And at first, things really looked like it was going to be Zipper's match, especially going into the first round. He gets ahead, I believe, by 2 points. Mm-hmm. And then he continues that. He continues widening that gap in round two. Of course, Brandon Hanna getting, I believe he got DC, and then Zipper got Zipper got opponent's choice. He got
opponent's choice, and he gave him DC. Yeah, Brandon gave him DC.
Yeah, but even then, Zipper still had himself a very confident lead going in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and then finally round three happened. Wow, they end up going tied, going into sudden death.
Yeah, and I think it was a 6-point lead Zipper had going into round three.
Yeah, and that. When I heard him say, "Yeah, we're going to give him DC," it's like, what are you doing?
I'm not going to give too much away, but there was actually some thought and strategy behind that decision.
I'm pretty sure. It did come off as there was. I'm not denying that. But that's just one of those. It's he used to be on a comic book team. Okay, let's see where this goes.
Yeah.
But you also have to think about with DC. Now it's just all DC.
Yeah,
you're getting Swamp Thing questions and Green Lantern questions and things that fringe, not so great DC movies.
Yeah.
The
Hex,
yeah.
So I can really get.
I was going to ask, does that really change? Now that it's all together, does that really change any strategy studying for that category? Because before it was two separate things, but now, does that change anything?
I mean, I just think it compounds it even more because now you're having DCEU and DC kind of all mashed together in there.
All right.
Yeah. I can see how it would throw some people off, honestly. I mean, personally for me, because with DC, I get why you had to merge them together because with the DCEU, at this point, it was such a finite list of films that sooner or later this season, you might as well start getting more deep cut questions. So merging them together and having Superman and Batman break off, I think made the most sense because those two heroes have so much film
movies. There's so much content on them specifically.
Yeah, and Spider-Man for Marvel as well.
Mm-hmm. And X-Men, I believe, too.
Yeah, yes, that's right, X-Men. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would have been a weird one to leave out.
Yeah.
Actually, because of that, I have to admit, because of that Saul and Humphrey match, having Spider-Man has his own category was genius because you're finally being able to ask Spider-Man questions. Not just something from Far From Home or from Into the Spider-Verse or even from the Spider-Man 2. They got Spider-Man 3 questions, the first Spider-Man questions, and the Amazing Spider-Man questions. So I love that. Mm-hmm. And then seeing, of course, with DC, the questions that Zipper got. Of course, it didn't help him when he says, "Oh, I'm not a big DC guy." I'm going, Jesus Christ. I get you playing for fun, but it's still a trivia match. I mean, you kind of validated why Hannah and Roxy gave you that slice.
Yeah.
And he's right. You can get a Suicide Squad question and then followed up by a Watchmen question, which is technically DC.
Yeah.
Or you can have a Catwoman question, and nobody wants a Catwoman.
Yeah, Catwoman.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh God. Yeah.
How about Jonah Hex? Isn't that
Right,
also
Jonah Hex
DC?
is
Jonah
DC.
Hex. Yeah, it is DC.
Yeah. I'm waiting for Dolph Lundgren Punisher and Matt Salinger Captain America questions. That's what I'm waiting for.
Oh my god! I mean, if those were theatrically released, I'll be like, oh no.
They were.
They were. I don't
They
know.
were for the '80s Marvel movies.
Yeah.
Was that Hasselhoff Nick Fury movie released in theaters? So would that come up in Marvel?
I think that was a TV movie. I'm actually gonna.
Those were released. Technically, that Red Sonja movie with Brigitte Nielsen at the time when in the '80s, Red Sonja was a part of Marvel Comics, so technically that would count.
That would be, yeah.
It possibly could. Unfortunately, that Nick Fury movie is a television movie, so it would not.
Darn.
Yeah, that would be a random one to get on there.
Well, Hasselhoff is already in the MCU.
True,
Yeah, technically he is.
true.
He could, honestly. I mean, I do love that. The fact that it even makes that little moment in Guardians of the Galaxy 2 even better. Like, everyone's like, oh, it's just a simple joke. And then when you look, oh, he played Nick Fury in the past? So, wait a minute. Does that mean technically there's an alternate version of Nick Fury that exists?
Yeah. And you know what? He still looks enough like he did back then. You could do something like that.
I mean, we're getting multiverse stuff, so
Yeah, anything is possible.
what if we get a multiverse Hasselhoff Nick Fury?
Yeah. So I got a comment in the question. They also thought the Cap movie was a TV movie, but no, it was a superhero movie. It was a theatrical release movie.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes a lot more sense, though. I guess that's just just the minefield that you're gonna have to start like going over now. I mean, you might as well just like to reference the TV show, the Benedict Cumberbatch show Sherlock. You might as well start creating your own mind palaces of information stored in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, kidding. With all the new stuff they've added, you're gonna have to.
Yeah, there's a lot.
I still definitely appreciate that, but then just seeing that Zipper and Hannah went into sudden death, they got like 5-6 questions deep before Zipper finally just.
I think it was 9 questions.
Oh,
Yeah.
9?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was almost as long as the Star Wars match.
Yeah.
Wow.
God, I'm trying to think. No, maybe honestly, actually, I think it might have been. Yeah, they got longer than the Star Wars match because I'm trying to think of the final scores, and yeah, they did. That was, but even then, this match was still very impressive. Seeing both Hannah and Zipper coming in with different mentalities, different mindsets now. Like they were, like both of them, even though they were dead serious on playing, even then in their promos, like Brandon Hannah, even though he's like, oh, it's all about me here, but you still even saw during the match when he felt down, Roxy, as great manager she is, she came in and she told him, she pretty coached him out of his head, kept telling him, yeah, you're down, but don't forget, this is not over yet.
So ASG's got the breakdown. It's 9 IG over sudden death rounds, 7 for Star Wars.
Thank you, ASG.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and kudos to everybody involved in that match. Like Brandon Hanna, like kudos to him for listening to Roxy and staying in it. Because anybody would have, gotten their own head on that.
Yeah, 6-point deficit going into the 3rd round. Like you could really just give up at that point and feel like it's over for you. But Roxy is so encouraging and she's really good at getting you out of a negative headspace. And I think that's definitely something that's worked for me. I feel like with past managers, if I had any kind of stresses, it was more sympathizing with me, but not telling me, okay, you're feeling down. Let's get out of that headspace. Let's move on. Let's keep going.
I when I was watching the match, your match last night, I kind of saw that a little bit. Where it looked like in the first round you were, getting a little trepidation, but it looks like Roxy is the one for you to get you out of that headspace for sure.
Definitely.
And it feels kind of, I won't say poetic, but it feels kind of unlucky for Eric Zipper because this is the second time he's playing the match to where he has a big lead and then all of a sudden round 3 just fails. Yeah,
he played amazing. He played so great. So
we have a very special guest joining us, none other than Janine's opponent, Jader Paramo. How are you doing, Jader?
What have you been talking? What smack have you been talking, girl?
Oh, not at all.
None.
We haven't even touched your
Let's
match
start.
yet. We were just talking about Hannah and Zipper. we were just going. We were talking about the appetizers. We didn't get to the main course just yet.
There you go. There you go. Sorry, man. Frenchie hit me up right now, and he's like, "Dude, get on the show." And I was like, "I had a long night. It was my best friend's girlfriend's birthday, so we actually went over to their house and all that. So we went bowling quickly, and then it was getting too crowded. I'm like, we gotta go. So,
Yeah.
But we ended up hanging out for a very long. I probably got home like 5 hours ago, so I'm pretty tired. But I got
night.
Oh, absolutely, it's so great. I haven't seen it in a while, so it's always a lot
Thank
of
you
fun.
very much for joining us. Did you, by chance, happen to see the Hannah Zipper match? And any thoughts on that?
I have not actually. I saw it's the only match this week that I haven't actually. There's two I haven't seen. I haven't seen I didn't see the Star Wars match yet because I heard it was so epic. So I haven't
championship
seen
match,
and I haven't seen the Hannah match. I saw Art and I saw Lacey's match this week.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll keep the spoilers light on the championship match, but yes, definitely you need to watch that match.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I heard it. I heard it's fantastic. Actually, that's what I was gonna do this morning. As soon as my significant other wakes up, we're gonna play it because everyone. It's just my chat blew up of how amazing it was. Like everyone's like, "Dude, did you see it?" I'm like, "I haven't seen it. Please shut up. I don't want to know."
That's how I was on Friday. Like I unfortunately got busy recording the podcast. By the time I was done, that was over. So I muted everything, stayed away from the page, stayed away from Twitter and Facebook page. I'm like, I'm just gonna wait till I watch this. Finally watched it last night, and I'm like, okay, let me unblock everything. And then all of a sudden, I'm seeing 50
blood.
Friday nights are hard for me because I have my kids, and unless my kids don't want to be with me, meaning want to play like some Xbox or some PlayStation or whatever they want to play, then I'll tune in. But that day they're like, no, let's go to dinner. So we went out to dinner that night, and I was like looking at my phone and just the chat's going off, and I'm like,
blowing up.
I'm not gonna open Messenger right now. But yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me on the show, by the way.
Of course. Lou teased it a little bit earlier. He's like, oh, you might have a special guest. I'm like, what?
Yeah. Well, 10 minutes, I was losing my brain. I'm like, are we going to get either Brandon on here, Zipper? We're going to get Lacey, Gold Leader? Heck, are we going to get Roxy on here? Because then I'd be losing my mind. And you, also, you or even anyone else from the Throwdown. I'm like, anyone from this past week of Schmoedown matches, I would have been losing my mind.
Yeah, no, well, thank you guys. Thank you. That was one hell of a match, man. Janine, it's crazy because we recorded it a couple of weeks ago, and she knew the outcome of the match, and we were still talking, And then I'm like, "Are you ready for your big week?" And she's like, "I'm nervous." I was like, "You win. What are you talking about? What are you doing?"
That's something I've always wanted to know because I've never been in that situation where I've had to sit on something like that. How hard is it sometimes to hold that in when you're talking to people?
I mean, it's tough.
Yeah, it's a little tough, and I'll tell you why. Because, I was on backstage this week, and I don't, and everyone, is writing on the chats, and Ben's asking all these questions, and it's hard to say. Like the only thing I could have said, and everyone said that the way I've sold the match has been that it looks like I was the one that won. Because like saying like, oh, it's one hell of a match. But I did. If you go back, I tried not to. I actually was saying like it's just a really, really good match. I didn't say anything. I didn't say, on one side or the other. It's a little tough, especially more with my friends, because some of them don't care, but I just don't want to spoil it for them. And they're like, dude, just tell me. There's only one person that I tell everything to, which is my co-host of my show.
Yeah.
And I tell him everything off rip because he'll call me right away and he'll be like, hey, so
how
what
did it go? Yeah.
So, exactly. And he knew going into that match, he's like, let me tell you. He goes, usually I'll tell you like, hey man, you got this. Don't worry about it. This was the one match where he was like, he wasn't saying you're gonna lose, but he goes, by far that's your toughest opponent just because the ins and outs and all the training. Because Kyle has been during
in our study sessions.
Where he'll get questions for us both, and we'll do like mini scrimmage match,
Mm-hmm.
So he was the only one. And then when I told him it went down to the 5, he was like, "I knew it, man." He's like, "Keep your head up." He goes, "But I knew." He goes, "I knew it was going to be that type of match."
So, okay, let's just get into the match. So, you guys are one of the first matches of the season. I think this was, what, week 3, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah. Week 3 of March. Yeah, because we had like some great first week kicked off with Moses and Swift. So
Yeah. We had the pay-per-view first, which was Damon versus Laura Kelly, and then the following week, if I'm not mistaken, is when we started kicking off the.
Yeah, because then we had the other pay-per-view was Merle versus Snyder, and then of course next week after that we had, oh my god, But
Absolutely.
So you guys are drafted, and then you find out, oh shit, you're playing right away. Does that make it add the pressure on right away when it comes to studying, making sure you're fully prepared?
Yeah, and I think for our match, definitely we had to put more strategy into it because, like, we obviously know each other's strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah.
So we both kind of had to come at it from a perspective of, okay, well, what do I think he's going to put on there? I know he knows this really well, so do I need to study that? And all of that kind of had to come into play when we were playing each other.
That's exactly it. I remember when I was, as soon as I was drafted, I'm like, hey, I'll play right away. I'm like, put me the first week, and then she's like, actually, we do have your match. It got announced like 3 days ago, and I'm like, oh, who is it? I'm thinking I'm either gonna play a rookie. I never.
I know
that it was gonna be Janine first, and they asked, and then they tell me that, like, you got Janine first. I was like, oh, can I curse here?
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, no fucking way. I was like, no way this is happening right now. And I'm like, they're taking this shit way too seriously with this war. And she said
yeah.
So I found out like on a Friday, and I wanted to write her to her like immediately, to be honest with you. But I'm so busy on weekends. Today is actually the first Sunday that I have off in like 8 months.
Holy shit.
Yeah, hence why I went last night. I was like a frat boy. Like,
You got one night.
and then I have to wake
One
up.
night.
Yeah, exactly. And
But on the flip side of that, knowing you're facing somebody you're really good friends with and what have you, must put a little bit of that ease off.
yes and no, to be honest with you. Yes, because I'm like, I mean, again, you with this match in specific, it's Janine obviously is like top tier player for me, and this is coming not from a friend side. This is the fan side of me, because, and I told her this. I was such a huge fan, and still am, obviously, a huge fan of Janine. So prior to me even being the suspects, I was like, not gunning for her. I'm sorry, that's the wrong choice of words. Like, just rooting for her, right? And when we got in a team together, one of the first person that I talked to the night of the draft was her. I approached her. She was talking to Chance. I'll never forget. We went to a bar out in LA, and I approached her. I'm like, we're gonna be teammates. She's like, oh my god, and we just started talking at shop. Found out all the love of horror films that have all that we have this huge fandom for the Scream films, right? And we just started talking, this and that, and then shortly after it was, all right, so we hung out that night, had a couple drinks, whatever. We went home, and I want to say like less than a week later, we were setting up the scrimmages and what are you good at, what are you not good at, and just started going from there. So I know last year she's hard on herself more than she should be, to be completely honest with you. So last year, with her loss with Riley, and she's like, people are saying I'm overrated. I'm like, you can't feel that way.
It must be the
And that's the thing that completely bothers me when it comes with people, when it comes with records. Unfortunately, with this community, I mean, nothing against them, good or bad. Records, unfortunately, they say a lot. And one thing I think Ben and I, we like to do with our show, we always like to look at people at their ability as a player, never look at their records. And we've always said that we've always seen that there has always been 3 players who are constantly being overlooked. And of course, Janine, you're always one of those 3, because in your first season, you came out like a house of fire, honestly, tearing through the Schmoedown. And of course, your partnership with Ethan Irwin, I'm not saying it's luck or so, but you clearly had yourself like a great year ahead of you. And then your match against Chance at New York was best match to kick off the season. Even though it was a pay-per-view, though, it was still a great match to play. I mean, sure, Erwin and Merle was there, but technically, I mean, after rewatching that match, it doesn't even feel like an undercard. It literally feels like a double main event match.
Yeah. That match set the tone for that season, really.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then after, even in your match against Warfather, though, you also came in with huge confidence going in your match. You had you were pretty much zen most of the time when I was watching, especially on the Throwdown Live. When you won that match, it was like, yes, this is exactly why no one should overlook you, because you are always confident, you're always like in the zone, and then of course in your match, no matter where it was at, like when Jader was ahead, or you brought it back, you brought it close again in the third round, anything literally could happen between the two of you. And I like how it really did feel for a second, Jader, like this really was your match to win. And of course, 5-pointer was just like, give me a break.
And that's the game. That's the game. Yeah. It's always been the game. And again, you're so hard on yourself. I always tell you. But again, you just Ryan, you just said it. She's never been annihilated. Like, it's never been like an embarrassment. No, you've always been. If you have a loss, it was such a close game. It's happening to me. I've been like with Tom. It happened with me where and
it's so frustrating when it's close like that.
Obviously, but again, it is what it is. I was up going into the first. Obviously, we all know, and I feel like the whole Schmoedown knows that my round twos have not been great. I haven't really spun anything that I'm like, I
know this. Yeah, 100%.
And I believe that's something you're going to get over. I do believe that's something you're going to get over.
Yeah. You had a great round two in our match.
You have no idea, like these study sessions that we've been having, and it's just attacking. Even it's every wheel slice. I'll take it 2 a week, 3 a week. Amongst our study, like I study like crazy outside of the Schmoedown. I don't know if you guys know that I went back to school for went back to school, but started school. So quick little thing here. I haven't been in school in 13 years.
Right? Wow.
I graduated I was class of 2005, and I went to college and then found a job bartending like right out of college, and I was like, I don't need this. And then I just got in good jobs overall, so I've maintained, a home and all that stuff. When COVID hit, I freaked out. My job didn't close down. We were still considered essential. However, it was just the money wasn't coming in because I worked a commission-based job. So it kind of woke me up. It like lit that light bulb, and I was like, I need to go back to school. I know it's been a long time. I know I had the head capacity, and I actually kind of use the Schmoedown for that, because even things that I'm always a visual learner. Obviously, I love film. I can see a movie once and tell you things off it pretty quickly. But I use the Schmoedown. I'm like, man, I'm putting a lot of time and effort in this. Something that I love and something that I want to be in, and I still want to be in it. And I'm like, but let me use that brain capacity as well to try to pick up something new. So I went back and I went to school for EMT. I passed my EMT course, and now I'm doing medics. After medics, I'm doing the fire academy. Oh, wow. So again, between doing this and still studying for Schmoedown, like
being a dad, like I'm so impressed by you every day, dude. You're a beast.
I don't know how you do it. I really don't. I'm just tired sitting on the couch.
Same here.
Yeah, I do like a 9 to 5 job Monday to Friday, and I feel like all of a sudden I've nothing left in me, and then doing podcasts and shows, and I'm like, oh, what do I have the strength? And then you're telling me, and then of course hearing your story, and also I have so many friends who do so much more. I'm like, oh God, we are living in an age of marathon people, like marathon men, women who are doing it every single day of their lives. I mean, one thing COVID showed is that it didn't affect people, even though it may have affected people, but we're also seeing people's true character and strength during this year.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Right.
That's my girl.
Stories.
Look out for Peggy, guys. But yeah, actually, it's funny you said that you get you feel like a couch potato, dude. I saw the Snyder Cut twice. How much I loved it.
Really,
and it was like it was so great, so fulfilling. But at the same time, I'm like, what did you do yourself this week?
Yeah, 8 hours of your life.
Yeah.
That's a shift at my job. That's like a full work shift for me.
Who are you?
Same.
Yeah.
But I actually got to see it earlier, and they sent me a thing to review it, and I was so grateful for it. And the first time I saw it, I couldn't delink. It was so like top secret or whatever that I couldn't even stream it to my TV. I had to see it in the laptop. So the first time I saw it in the laptop, I was like, it was still.
I gotta watch this again. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I did.
Like you could have watched it on your laptop, honestly.
So a buddy of mine, I told him that I saw it, and he's like, "Does the link still work?" And I'm like, "Yeah," but I'm like, "It does." I'm like, "I can't." Like, I'm like, it's in my laptop. I'm like, I can't do it. I can't mirror it. And he's like, "Well, I'm very big." He has a wedding this weekend, and he's like, I have a wedding," and he's like, "Would you mind showing it to me?" And then I'm like, don't post a picture or anything, but sure, come. I'm like, but just know it's on the laptop. He's like, no, screw that. He bought an Apple TV and he brought it here. And then he goes, "This is the most expensive film I've ever paid for." And then he told me, he goes, "Keep your Apple TV for the screener." He's like, "You let me keep it."
Nice.
But that's why I saw it twice. That's why I saw it twice, because he came in.
Nice.
Yeah, but I tell him, I'm like, the movie's long, man. Try to come here early. Get here like around 5:00. Shows up at 9.
Oh my
So I'm like, but yeah. So again, today was one of those days where I'm like, I'm not gonna study. I'm not gonna do anything. I just want to sit down and relax. I haven't had a Sunday off in a long time, so I'm gonna watch some matches today. I missed the Hannah match. And I missed the Star Wars match. So
it made the championship, but you did see Lacey versus Evan, and that's one match we're going to get to break down before we brought you in. So, I mean, overall thoughts, just your general impressions on that match, though. I definitely enjoyed myself, but how were you guys feeling just watching it?
Well, Lacey's part of the Den, so I've seen all the work that she's been putting, obviously with Harper and her just going in. She was pretty beat up on her, and I again, we tend to do that when we lose. Just not to go back to the match, but Fright Night is something that I should have gotten. Janine knows my love for
your horror. Yeah, I was shocked because I was praying. I was like,
she thought I knew it. She thought I was playing that
Bateman game. Yeah.
She thought I knew it, and I just completely blanked. And the reason why is I've only seen that movie once. And completely forgot that Toni Collette's in it, because I prefer the original to the remake.
Okay. Yeah, definitely.
I had forgotten that Boots was in it. That was the one that threw me off.
But she was also in another horror remake as well.
Yeah, this is the thing.
When you answer that repeat, all of a sudden, Imogen Poo's and Toni Collette, like, oh, Fright Night. Because I remember seeing that. Like, I got to see Fright Night because at Comic-Con, I got lucky to be a part of the panel, and then they were giving out tickets to people to do a special screen of Fright Night. That was the only time I saw it. And the only reason I remember it was because David Tennant was in that movie. So if David Tennant was in that question, I'd be like, oh, it's Fright Night. Or Colin Farrell,
Exactly, Colin Farrell. Or McLovin.
Or Anton Yelchin,
They could put Christopher Mintz-Plasse, and I would have gotten it. It was for some reason, I just blocked out. I couldn't get it. And it's the second time I missed a reboot and remakes question. So I'm like, I'm going in on that category. It's the second time that I missed that question, a question in that. But the whole time, I'm like, I know this. And I blank. I kept going to Krampus, which I know it's not a remake, and I know that it, and then I kept going to Krampus, Hereditary, and I'm like, bro, I know she does horror. What other completely?
And she did Black Christmas too, which was also a horror remake. So that could have been a
no. And I didn't think Black Christmas, honest, because of the year that they had said.
Okay.
Like, I knew it wasn't 20. I said The Sixth Sense, and I knew I was wrong because I knew that movie came out in 1999. I know it's not a remake, but I was just like, I lost.
Gotta throw something out there.
I don't have it, But anyways, going back with Lacey, again, I was hard on myself because I'm like, I could have gotten that. And okay, so a little behind the scenes. We had a study session, obviously, the night before my match, right? The whole day, we're just like this. We're in a StreamYard. We're just throwing questions at each other, right? Fright Night got mentioned that night, the night before my match. Fright Night got mentioned, but it was Silvestrini saying how she prefers the remake to the original, and Goddard and myself were like, no, the
original's great.
Had I opened,
Still haven't seen it. Sorry.
Had I opened that IMDb, I would have gotten that question. And I opened the IMDb on because we were talking about the composer of Fright Night. But we went back. I went to the original. I did not click the IMDb of the remake. Had I opened it, I probably would have gotten it. And I'm beating myself up for that. So just a little behind the scenes. But again, the better person won. I've never steered away from this. Everybody's like, "Oh, how do you feel?" And I'm like, "It
was a very good match, though."
I know, and that's literally what we said.
What we talked about.
Yes, let's give them one hell of a match. Let's get in there and just wow everybody. And especially being, I felt, I know we weren't the undercard, but I'm like, we had a big night. Like our event, our match was under a big event. Like you had Monty playing that night, So I told her, I'm like, let's not have them not talk about our match either. Even so let's just give them a show. And we did. I felt like it went all the way to the last
back
question.
Forth,
I love matches like that. Like blowouts are nice to see here and there. Like, oh shit, like this guy, But I love when they're that close. Which I hear is what happens with the Star Wars.
As a fan, as a viewer, it's definitely
it's
really
a lot of
fun.
fun. And again, everyone when we were promoting our matches on our Facebook, on our personal social medias, all my friends were like, "Man, I'm gonna tune in. I've been waiting for your match again. This and that and that." Every single one of them, they're like, "Dude, I thought you won because of the way you were writing on." So like Battle of the Titans and all that. So I'm like, "No, man,
that's the fandom involved. It's because we've had so many players that love to wait until the last moment to answer the question, like with Kalinowski, Roca, Bateman, even Guy at the time, even when I've seen a few players do that, you're thinking,
I was taught against that. I won't say by who, but someone taught me that. They're like, "Yeah, you know the answer, spit it out, man. Go ahead." I was like, "All right, cool." Yeah. But they're like, take your time to listen to it. If you don't know it, then you wait. But if you know it, just throw it out there. But with going down to the Lacey's match, like she beat herself up when that happened, and she said that she had like a shitty round 2 and that she should have kept Phantom Menace, but she went with Solo. And when I saw the match, I'm like,
no,
what are you talking? I'm like,
she did great.
I'm the king of bad round 2s. I'm like, you're not taking that tone from me right now.
Yeah.
So she played a hell of a match. To be honest with you, she shouldn't beat herself up. She knew going in that Gold Leader was somebody to look out for. It wasn't a secret. Thomas Harper knows him really well. And said, "Hey, I'm going to work with you because this is not somebody that should be slept on." And he said this on multiple shows. And he played a great game. You can't take that away from him. Obviously the Finstock Exchange is going heel now, so that's why he was throwing those shots. But I heard he's a lovely guy. I haven't talked to him. I've never met him before.
Yeah, I had we've had him on before. He's good people. Ben, did you have anything you wanted to ask or anything?
No. Okay. Go ahead, Ben.
I mean, it seems like how much fun is it every time you get into a match? Is there a lot of fun for you? Both of you?
What was that question?
That was a question for he's asking.
Either Gator or Janine. It was either.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I heard. I'm sorry. I didn't understand that.
Is it still fun for you?
Was the match fun for us?
Yeah.
It's playing in general.
It's still it's not stressful,
Absolutely. No, I mean it can. You know what? And this is not a shot. I would never talk smack, but the fans' expectations of you, it can make it stressful because we know what we've got. We know we have what it takes to be here. Again, I was lucky that I was picked out. I feel like it was pure luck. I've always said it was my destiny, and I've always said that because my obsession with this game. I had to let it go for a little bit, obviously, because life literally smacked me in the face, and I just couldn't keep up with it anymore. But I would, again, the game debuted on Apple on the phone. I got it the very first day. I wouldn't miss a match. I would work my schedule around big matches. So Before the job I had now, I would make my own schedule. So if I knew, we were gonna get just an example, Merle versus Roca, and I knew it was that Friday, I knew I was gonna open the store that day. I knew I wasn't supposed to see it live. And I for one am one to say that there's sometimes where I've seen a player come on, and I'm like, man, I can annihilate this guy. How does he not know this? And again, I'm not one to go in the chats. You won't see unless it's positive and blowing up people. I'm very about positive energy. I have been, because I was a very different person in my early 20s. And I don't like arguing with people online. If I see someone write something negative, I scroll. It's just who I am now, right? I'm very like Zen now. And I had a very, very nasty attitude back then. I felt like I would fight everybody.
Who didn't in the early 20s?
yeah. I mean, exactly. And then, we always have something to prove. We have a chip on our shoulder. I'm just not that person anymore.
Yeah.
But, it sucks because we do, and I tell this to every single competitor now in the den, and I've said this to Janine, and I've said this to Hannah. This is fun. What we do here, this is supposed to be fun. This is a great opportunity that we have. And obviously everybody wants to win, but there's always going to be a winner and a loser. That's just the way the game is played. There's always going to be a winner and there's always going to be a loser. It's going to happen. We shouldn't beat ourselves up way too much. But it kind of makes it stressful because, again, Janine is seeing all these things, overrated, this and that and that. I'm seeing like this guy sucks at round twos. He gets all the easy questions. He's a surface level player. And I'm like, what the fuck, dude?
Yeah, like you're putting in all this work and it's supposed to be fun. And, you let yourself get to that spot where like, yes, I'm enjoying doing this. And then people just kind of picking apart everything you're doing and not seeing the positives in what you bring to the table and what you can do. It does get kind of frustrating and it does kind of try to suck the fun away from you. But yeah, that's kind of the main thought you always have to go back to, which I'm really trying to hone in on, especially this season, is just why I'm doing this. It's because it's fun.
Yeah.
So,
and how much does having Roxy as a manager help you in that journey?
I mean, it's amazing. Like, I think even in match, I know Kate kind of called out all the shit Roxy was talking in the chat. So if you do see me kind of smile a couple of times during the match, it's because I was kind of giggling at all this stuff Roxy was saying in the chat.
Look,
so
I couldn't read. I got to the point where I kept looking. You'll see in the match, I'll look left and I'm like, Jesus Christ.
She was just saying some dumb, like these dumb, corny ass like shots at Jader.
It's just anything that comes up from her mind. She's like typing, and you see like the chats like just blowing up. Oh god! And then the thing is that everyone said like ignore it. I'm like, what happened if Kate's telling me to do something, and I can't see it? But I mean, it's all. Let me tell you, I know. Again, Roxy goes in on me every single time. Every match, every time, every promo, that she goes in. She's actually very nice to me outside. Just throwing it out there, guys.
That's the character she's doing. That's the character
that she's doing. Because it's crazy that I had to like tell that to my friends. My friends, they're like, I can't stand her. And I'm like, she's actually a very nice person.
She gets that a lot.
Yeah, it's amazing how some people can't separate reality versus show. Like,
I think it's one of the it's like one of the unfortunate double-edged swords of the Schmoedown. Like, even though they're putting on a show, at the same time, it's real people being involved here. So if somebody like someone like Roxy or like a guy or like Bateman or like Kaiser, they come on with this character and they just go, "Oh my god, this person's so annoying. How is it that you're a fan of this person?" And I go, "Well, try to think of it as it's a play, it's
entertainment.
They're on the stage, so they have the character, but once they're off stage, the plot is gone. I try to think of it that way.
It's like, think about it like it's like a live. Yeah, you're right. Live play, a live movie. These people aren't exactly like what you see on screen. They're more or less good people.
Yeah. So that's exactly it. Let me tell you, the one person that I am like, I cannot stand this guy. And every time they would announce a match, I wouldn't even watch him because I'm like, I hate this character. It was Andrew Guy. right?
Me too.
Oh my God, I couldn't stand
For me,
him.
it was Bateman. Bateman,
Yeah.
I gritted my teeth with this dude.
Well,
Even
You
when
want to
the
know what
live
it was
show,
with
It was Team
Bateman?
Action in general. Right?
I
Team
mean,
Action
yeah,
was
I can. It was both of them actually. When they came in, they were Team Action. You know, they came in as a team.
Yeah.
But it was more Bateman. I mean, Bateman. I felt like Guy was just like that, a little bit over the top. He was more obnoxious than Bateman. Bateman always like he was like obnoxious, but not like Guy. I felt like Guy always took it to that level. And I'm like, I can't stand this person. Like, what the hell is this? When he got beat with the chair, I was like, yeah, like, and
that's
then
just what the Gothic did.
dude, I remember when I found out, and not obviously I had already differentiated that, but I wasn't used to. Imagine meeting him in person for the first time ever was the day of my match in studio, and he came up to me and he was like, hey man, how are you? This is like super, and I'm like looking at him like, no man, this is not real, dude. Like, get in character. It was just so weird.
Weird.
And as soon as Eric with the promos yells action, it's a different character. It's Andrew Guy. Like
He's
that.
on, yeah.
It is on, and then you turn it off, and he was just the sweet. It's Ben's another one, man. Ben is just like Janini. Ben was one of the first to talk to me. You know, obviously digging my knowledge. Like we would talk movies and all that.
Mhm.
Super nice guy, and I'm like, Jesus, this is crazy. And you know who I never thought gets out of character is someone. It's someone like Snyder, right? So,
Yeah.
Snyder,
Yeah, Frenchie, I was right there with you. It's funnily enough, yeah, my person like that it was Snyder, and now we're in a faction together.
That's what I'm saying. So this is the thing. Snyder was on my show a couple of weeks ago, and even beforehand, like he was on a friend of mine's show, and I, jumped into the show a little bit. And me and Snyder, because I think I've been in the same room as Snyder one time, and it was for Spectacular, and he left a little early that day, so I really couldn't talk to him. But then once he was on, dude, Snyder's just such a chill dude.
Oh yeah,
Very,
He's amazing.
He's amazing.
I interviewed him 4 days after the Spectacular, and yeah, he couldn't have been the nicest guy. And how we ended up getting him on is Daniel, one of the co-hosts, called him out on Facebook, and he just messaged us, "Hey, let's do this." And it's like, holy shit! And then to have him on, such a good dude, man.
Awesome, dude.
Yeah, and like even with the stars,
everyone in the Schmoedown that plays the heel character and all that, like this community, like, and I'm not talking like just everyone that's involved in the Schmoedown is just the nicest people. The nicest people.
The best
Roka
people,
was another one. We had him on again after the draft. He came on and he was on his cell phone, which is pretty funny. We got him when he was doing his order of Krispy Kreme. But yeah, it was funny. Like Dave's fiance was sitting next to him, and she's like the biggest Roka fan, and he was like just smooth talker and stuff like that. It was awesome to see that.
That was me the day I won the Orlando match. So Roka was my favorite character. I feel like the original character, because before it was Dan Murrow versus John Campia, and it was them playing themselves, and it was just Christian's friends just coming and doing some movie trivia.
Yeah,
I felt like Roka was, when you met the Outlaw, you're like, holy shit, this is dope. This is like some wrestling shit, and I thought that was awesome. So when we went to Spectacular, obviously to see Corruption versus the Founding Fathers, and I had already won. Christian, Ellis, Kaiser, Kalinowski, everyone, Chance, Dagnino, everybody was already saying hi to me, congratulations, this and that and that. And Roka was sitting with Dan. We were at a restaurant, and they were having their dinner. I didn't want to go say hi. I didn't want to interrupt them eating. Like I know like they were gonna get bombarded because there was fans around. So I'm like, dude, I know, like, I don't know what it's like, but I can imagine. Dude, we just did this event. I'm hungry. I just want to eat. Like you don't want to go and bother them when they're eating.
Yeah.
But after, I forgot who I was talking to, and I guess they saw me, kept looking at Roka to see what if it was the right time. They're like, you don't know Roka, and I was like, no, I'm like, he's my favorite player. And then they're like, go talk to him. He's a super nice guy. I'm like, no, I don't want to bother. It's just not me. And then they're like, man, come here. And they like went and we met, and he was great. But yeah, I understand. 'Cause I was honestly like, even meeting Christian and Ellis, I was shocked. you know, because it was somebody again, like back in the movie, even the AMC movie talk did.
Yeah.
Like this was somebody again that it was my daily show. It's just I love film, I love movie news, I love the breaking news. I based my podcast format based off of them. Like, let's do a podcast here in Miami where I can, you know, talk breaking news, review films, this and that and that. And, you know, I would get to see movie, you know, back when we were allowed to go to the movie theater. And I would get press junkets and see movies early and review them and all that. And it was like a dream of mine to do what they have in LA based out of Miami. Like I was talking like trying to open up a mini studio and, you know, just do what they do here. Obviously trying to make a Miami twist to it and all that. But it's crazy. I don't know. It's just such an experience. I still believe it's my second year and I'm still like, oh my God, like these are my friends now. Like you know,
these people. Yeah, it's crazy.
I can text this person and they actually come back. You know, it's crazy. So,
let's throw that back to you, Janine. What was it like when you first entered the league? Like, did you have similar feelings where it was like you saw somebody you were hesitant to approach them, or was everyone like open arms and?
No, like I had that kind of similar experience. I kind of got into the Schmoedown because of the Dan Can't Be a Match, because I followed Dan from Screen Junkies over to Schmoedown. And then when I kind of saw the other characters and the stories and all of that, I got so into the show. And I started kind of doing fan art and stuff like that for different teams that I liked. And, you know, 6 Degrees was one of my favorite teams. I was doing fan art for them.
Let's not forget the Superdog one. That was my personal favorite.
Yeah.
They were great.
And I did a design for Top 10 and Rocco had loved it. So then they did a Comic-Con panel at the LA Comic-Con. So I went there, we went to the panel. I got to meet everybody, but I was too shy to say, oh, you know, I'm that girl that made those fan art designs that you liked. So I didn't really say who I was. So I just kind of met everybody, took pictures. Then a couple of days later, I posted the pictures. And I'm like, I can't believe I went from making fan art of these people to, you know, getting to meet them. And then Roca messaged me right away. He's like, that was you? Like, why didn't you say anything? You're the one who made that design. And I'm like, I was just really shy. I didn't know what to say. And so that's kind of when I got more involved with doing reaction videos, playing along with matches. Yeah. And then that's when Christian invited me to come to Spectacular, the whole tackle Spectacular. And the Sam Witwer match, the Iron Man match between Ken and Sam Witwer. Yeah, so that was my big kind of finally getting to meet everybody. And then a couple weeks after that, that's when Christian asked me if I wanted to be in the Schmoedown. So yeah, it was definitely a crazy experience.
Is it still you got to pinch yourself sometimes? What am I doing?
Yes, that I know these people that literally after me and Jader's match aired, Ethan Irwin is texting me oh, congratulations on the win. You did awesome. What? It's crazy.
Yeah. Hollywood Mogul Ethan Irwin. Just what the hell?
Almost an hour of a surreal moment. Very surreal moment.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. I'm nowhere near that, but it's funny, becoming more friends with people in the sphere, and every once in a while on Facebook, you're you might know Tom Dagnino. What the fuck is he doing in this Friends?
Yeah.
It's
and even
we have seen on Facebook, all of a sudden you're just looking at notifications, all of a sudden it says you have 35 mutual friends with Mark and
this person. What? Yeah. And even Jader's first match, Brittany Young, I said, oh, hi, it's so awesome to meet you. I'm a huge fan. You're great. She's like, oh, yeah, I know who you are. I watched all your matches. And I'm like, what? Brittany Young just took the time to watch all my matches. That's insane.
Is the biggest sweetheart walking this earth.
Oh,
she actually I guess caught wind that I was playing Janine, and she wrote and she goes, I'm gonna be looking out for the match. Good luck. She's like, you both are awesome. I don't know who to go for. And then she kind of made a joke well, you beat me, so I'm going for Janine or something But she's such a sweetheart. She's so great.
Yeah, she definitely seems like a chill person. I'm going to bring this question up that Ryan sent in about 10 minutes ago. Is there anybody who's been announced in the FCL that either of you knows that people need to look out for?
Number one answer for me, Maxwell Haddad. Mm-hmm.
Really? Hands down. Yeah.
I actually have a good buddy of mine that got put on the draft list for the season, and he's in the FCL, James Shimo. I do a wrestling podcast with him. I know this dude is solid on his knowledge.
Awesome.
I don't think he's doing singles. He's told me he wanted to do either IG or Star Wars, but that dude is a monster. So I'd say he's someone to look out for too.
Okay, so I'm going to start writing these names down because Lou wants to put me in FCL when they allow fans. So I'm like, oh shit.
Wow.
Take it, man.
I almost clamored to my buddy, like, dude, let me be your manager, man. Let me just be your talking mouth. And he's like, dude, I can already kill promos better than you, so I don't need you.
Wow.
Okay then.
He's already too big for you.
With friends like that.
No. We do that all the time.
Hell no.
Yeah, I'll have to scope out this Maxwell guy. Like, I mean, I've heard a lot of people talk about him. I actually don't know much about him, so this would be fun.
Oh, he's a sweetheart too, man. He's so nice.
Yeah, he's awesome, and his knowledge is insane.
His knowledge is insane.
Yeah.
Actually, I think he was in the draft, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes, he was. He was one of the announced people.
That's a big screw up right there, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Because I mean, again, I'm happy I'm part of this.
Yeah.
But I know there's some people that were in that draft where I'm like, you should have gone with this person. Yeah. I know. I mean, again, I'm going to be forever grateful for this opportunity. And again, it's not that I plan on just being, if this is the end of the road for me. I just super happy that I'm part of this.
You did it. You made it, right?
You deserve
it. Exactly.
I mean,
but yeah, man.
Like a $1 million shot in Orlando, man. You've been improving, and you came into this league. You're proving yourself. I mean, despite of course, you admit round 2's not good, but I say it's a hump you're going to get over because no matter how many categories on there, the more you get more fine tuned into this game, the more you're going to be able to better strategize, and sooner or later you're going to get a slice that everyone thinks that you're weak at, and then all of a sudden you're gonna nail it because so many people are focusing on, oh my god, he's not gonna do great in round 2. Guess what? You're gonna get that one match.
I'm sorry to interrupt, man. Every single slice that I've studied for, I've only gotten one time. One time I've gotten a slice. So I've studied, and for every opponent, I'll study a different slice. I will never try to put the same category up there twice because I already know that I've mastered that slice, and I'm like, I don't need to study for this. If it's a backup, I'll put it on there. Or maybe my opponent is studying it too, and he puts it on there, and it's more, I a little bit more. I've only got it in one freaking time, and I'm like, this sucks. I always get broad categories, man. It's worse.
Yeah. But luck is a huge part of this game. People forget that.
It really is. It really is. And again, it goes back. Like Janine knew both 5-pointers, which I love when I do that. Which you did something that I hate.
I know. I hate it too. It just came out.
It was just one of the slap. I was like, Jesus. But I knew hers. I knew her 5-pointer. And as soon as they said Miss Lonely Hearts, I'm like, ruined. And you see me going like this, and I'm going, this is my nervous tick right here. Like, don't get it. And you when you ask for that repeat,
because Lonely Hearts sounded familiar to me, but the other two didn't sound familiar, so I had to think about it for a minute. I do host a classic films podcast, and we recently covered this movie.
I knew you were gonna get it off rip because you host that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, he has to know this. But you asked for the repeat, and I'm not gonna lie to you. When I'm like, she doesn't know it. She doesn't know it. Oh my god. That was literally my mind going through.
And that was me on your 5 too. I was like, oh my God.
I'm gonna be honest.
My heart was going crazy.
I'm gonna be honest.
You see me praying. You see me praying.
Very
this is what I want
to both so intense.
Go ahead. This is what I ask most competitors, because you both played in the studio, you both played it like this. Which do you prefer? That's when it comes to comfortability wise, or what have you. Do you guys prefer having the crowd there to feed off of, or do you prefer this in a relaxed, familiar environment?
Studio 10 out of 10 times for me.
Yeah.
Maybe I've only done it once. Yeah. I was lucky to be the last week that they did studio matches.
Oh yeah,
I was the following week was supposed. James White flew out to LA, and James White was the following week because him and I met in Orlando, and obviously Rookie, we were talking, and he flew out to LA, landed, and then told him, "Hey, dude, this is canceled. We can't go in there." So
then he was stuck here. He was stuck in LA for like a week.
Stuck in LA for like a week, but for me, it's the, that's what we watch. We watch the studio, we watch them spinning the wheel. You hear the crowd in the background.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like Maximus, like I'm like, you're not it. Like I love that energy is great,
Yeah.
And I mean, again, as long as I didn't even know we were gonna how it was gonna work. Nobody knew, honestly. No one knew how this was gonna work out. It obviously, we managed to give you guys a season last year, thank God. Because again, this is my favorite. I'm telling you this because I can't say this enough. I watch every single match because not because I have to or I'm studying or anything like that, but because I just love this. This is my
Mm-hmm.
I do love sports. I'm more of a football guy. Like football, like is what I sit down and literally tune into.
Yeah.
Except for last season because obviously school was kicking my ass.
Mm.
But this is my sport. This is my entertainment. This is something that I don't want to miss. So I'll make some time, even if I'm in the car sometimes, and I have it and I'm listening to it like audio just to watch the match because it's something that it's something weekly that I
Same
do
thing.
not watch. So
Yeah. What about you, Janine? Which do you prefer? Do you prefer studio or this?
I think for me, actually, like live, it's I get over the nerves quicker. For some reason, at home, like I think that's why I didn't do so good in my round one because it just the nerves are there and it takes me a while to kind of get over that and get into the match. But live, like you have that energy to feed off of, and it kind of builds you up. So I feel like definitely just that vibe of the studio and the crowd there. Like my favorite match I've ever done was obviously New York and live, and I thought I was going to be. So I was nervous the whole day, and then as soon as I walked out, I was fine. And I'm never like that in those kinds of situations. Like I'm always really nervous and kind of shy, when I have to do stuff in front of people. So, that vibe of that crowd and that energy is just intense and crazy. And coming at this as a fan, starting out as a fan, it's a great energy.
Yeah,
so.
That New York reaction for you, it's got to be the loudest reaction I've heard for somebody who's not named like Dan Murrell or John Roper or something like that.
Yeah.
And you were a heel going into that match too.
Yeah.
No, he was going up against Chance. So Chance, of course, being like a good rookie sensation and like two great rookie sensations, and you had the loudest pop, even either coming out, even when you were coming out to the song from Rocky IV, the James Brown song "Living in America."
Which I was popping because I love that movie.
Yeah. Like you were.
Well, that wasn't my original music either. So when that music was playing, I was like, "This isn't my music." So I was kind of freaking out at first, but then just kind of
going for more like a Creed vibe, or
yes, I was definitely going for more of a Creed vibe. So, Brandon had actually like made a mix for me that was like it kind of started with the original Rocky theme, and then it went into the Creed theme. But for whatever reason, somebody had some conversation behind the scenes and decided to change it. So kind of coming out to that song, like it worked, but it was also like, that's kind of Creed's death march music. So I think that was just a bad omen. That was just a bad omen for me right there.
Yeah,
never thought about that.
Your Apollo Creed coming to kill the competition, but then guess what? Partway through the match, Apollo's getting himself knocked down, but even then, you still kept fighting against Chance. Like I said, you took him all the way to that last question, and this was from Chance when he had played against, I believe, Ethan Irwin, where he missed his last question. So it really was like, could he put, like you put the pressure on him. It was whether could he prove himself, or is like what we just saw in season 7, is he always going to keep constantly missing those 5-pointers?
She tends to do that.
Oh man. I have something. I mean, you guys already talked about how much love and respect you have for your manager, just like being in your corners, though. But just overall, all along, like, I mean, either you can answer just like with Jada, with having Kate in your corner. I mean, this new character of Kate, though. I mean, does she when you're playing, of course, in this match, was she? You did mention that, of course, the private chat going on, but even then, when she popped in to give you pep talks, or even before the match, was she like really helping you like get out of like a mindset to where you're going to be stuck into your head, or really focusing on playing the game, like because she wanted to do her job, like put the attention on her, so all you can do was the trivia. Was that really helping you in that match?
Absolutely, but and I can't say this enough. It's not only Kate; it's the whole team. the whole entire team, the whole day, wishing me luck. What do you need from me? Do you want? Because everybody trains different, right? So there's, I'm one that I'm like lights out. Shoot me questions until 5 minutes before my match. That's how I am.
Mhm.
It depends on who I'm playing. Also, if I feel a little bit better about myself, I want no trivia. I want to like ease up, relax, go into my mind fresh. But when it was Janine, I'm like, hey, don't stop throughout the whole morning.
Yeah.
You know, and it was every single player. Kate reaching out, what do you need from me? Ben, what do you need from me? Peggy, what do you need from me? Lacey, Thomas, everyone. They're not even in singles they're Star Wars players, and they were throwing me questions non-stop. It's just the whole squad. And this is not a knock on anybody that I've been with before, but this is the first time I feel something like this. When I was with the suspects, obviously, it's no secret. Sam was really busy, right?
Yeah.
And it was Janine, Rachel, would help us here and there. We had Jen Kemp, on the squad, and Jen Kemp, and shout out to her because that's another sleeper right there.
Yeah.
She's one hell of a player. She kicked my ass in the scrimmage, like brutally kicked my ass. So she's a really
great.
good player. So I didn't have that. Then from getting traded, and again, this was before my match was pre-COVID, so Sam was busy. He had to do things, and I totally understood that. I'm not saying I was ignored. I'm not saying, because we did have our study sessions.
Yeah, and then like that's kind of, I think, why you and me more relied on each other.
Yeah, exactly. That's how the Ginny and Jader started, right? And there you go. See, my girl's everywhere, man. But so that happens. Then I get traded to the Droogs with Ken. That was in the usual suspects. And Ken was kind of like thrown in this situation where he's like, I guess I'm manager now, and then so Ken was like, what do you need? And by that point I was like, I got this. Don't worry about it. The only other person from the Droogs that I can tell you that offered help was Hannah. Mm-hmm. And Warfather. From there on, I didn't talk to anybody else from the Droogs. There's players in the Droogs that I'm like, they're in our team, and it sucks to say something like that. So when for this year's draft, I had a couple managers and players, top players from that team, like, hey, what are you looking for? This and then that. And I told them, I just want somebody that I can, team up with. I'm not team up with a team that is gonna put in the work, study, and take this game seriously like I do. That's all I want, And if it's once a week, fine. If it's but let's put in the work
as a team, as a faction. Yeah, I was looking for the same thing.
And that's all I wanted, to be completely honest. That's all I wanted, and that's exactly they're delivering on that promise. In fact, I feel, and I told them recently, because I had some things happen in the last couple of weeks where I haven't been able to because of work, school, or personal reasons. And I would tell them, I'm like, hey, I'm sorry I'm not in there, but right before the matches I try to jump in there and help out. This week, I'm obviously a little bit more free, and I told them, I'm like, hey, when is our study session? We're going to do this. We're going to do that. But they've been fulfilling that promise from the day one. From the moment we got drafted, I want to say like a day or two later was our first meeting. It's like, what are we doing? What do you need work on? Let's have a mini scrimmage to see what you're good at, what you're not good at. And it's a killer squad, to be completely honest with you. Couldn't be prouder of this team.
So, okay, we got to be wrapping up because we've already passed the hour mark. Ben, Ryan, was there anything else you wanted to ask them before we wrap up?
Ben, you got anything?
No, I'm good.
Honestly, no. Everything that Jader has been saying, I mean, honestly, it's just been fun, just listening here. I mean, of course, Jader. I mean, you did have your little taste in teams last year, and I mean, you don't need to tease or anything, but is this something you still want to do in teams? Same with you, Janine. I mean, you guys did your singles matches, and maybe depending on when more team. I mean, has there ever been talks amongst your factions of you guys wanting to do teams, or Janine, you want to stay focused on just doing IG and singles, not try to, to stretch yourself out?
Well, teams is something I wanted to focus on last season, and I just didn't get that opportunity. So it's definitely something me and Roxy had talked about, that was something I wanted to do this season. And I do have a potential teammates in my faction. And, we've really gotten on really well. And they were actually that person for me who was sending me questions up until match time. So I have a potential amazing teammate, and yeah, I think it's going to happen. So,
okay, does Christian really hate teams as much as he says he does right now?
I hope not.
He just doesn't like it. He's not been shy saying he doesn't love that digital format.
Yeah,
It's just the digital teams that he doesn't like.
I can see why.
It's tough, and there's a lot of things that you guys don't see that gets edited because obviously, and it's insane. It happens more often than you guys think.
No, I can only imagine. I can only imagine how long it takes to tape a match now compared to the studio days. Like it's just a legitimate.
Like normally, like Chris, even on early SCN days when Christian just said, "Oh, you guys can just schedule." He can schedule like 8 matches on a Saturday, and he'll be done with that. Nowadays, like with the digital, you got everyone's schedule. You gotta see maybe you can get one match done today, and then maybe on one day you're cramming in 3 or 4 to do. So
no, Janice and I was hard to schedule because we have literally the opposite schedule. Like I said, I never have weekends off. So and Janine is usually, I think you're off on the weekends.
I have Sunday, Monday off.
So it was one of those things where I'm like, hey, I can do this date. Oh, but we can't do this date. Okay, how about this date? I'll try to make it. They're like, yeah, I think so. And then they're like, oh, no, I'm scheduled to work. Or one person couldn't. It was a pain.
Okay, so we're doing this at 1 a.m. in the morning?
Pretty much. I also, I mean, it'll be announced when it gets announced, but I have my partner as well. I'm very excited to work with this person. So, short answer, absolutely.
I can't. Well, one thing that team sermon's going to be insane.
No kidding. So it is time to wrap up because we've already passed an hour. Thank you guys very much for joining us. This has been a lot of fun. Like I echo everything Ryan said. It's great to just sit here and listen to you guys talk about the experience of being in the Schmoedown because I'm the same as Jader. Big fan. I'm a hockey fan instead of football, but I mean this is my thing. You can't see it, but I've got a wall covered in movies back here. Like
I can see it.
Yeah,
I can see it. I came in last minute, and I know we were supposed to talk matches. I mean, Lacey's awesome. I love you, Lacey. I'm so sorry.
Hey, we still did get to talk about matches, which was good.
I can talk for hours, dude. So
yeah, I totally get that. So, Janine, where can everybody find you? Anything you want to plug at the moment, or?
You can find me at Janine Devine _ on Twitter, Janine Devine on Instagram, and please check out the It's a Wonderful podcast feed. I have 3 shows over there. I do with my awesome co-host Morgan Robinson. Every Monday, it's Machine Mondays, where I talk Schmoedown. Every Wednesday, we have Morgan Hasn't Seen, where I force him to watch movies he hasn't seen. Right now, we're doing the Karate Kid movies.
He hasn't seen Karate Kid movies?
He has not.
He hasn't seen a lot.
No. So we're going through those, and then we're going to do some streams, kind of his review on Cobra Kai, watching Cobra Kai for the first time as well. Yeah. And then Friday, we have our classic films podcast. Yeah. And then Friday, we have our classic films podcast. It's a Wonderful podcast where we give love to those older movies. So please find the It's a Wonderful podcast feed, all places podcasts can be found. We also have a YouTube channel, It's a Wonderful Podcast on YouTube. So check it out.
Damn right. So Jader, how about you?
Are you done?
I am done.
All right. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram, infamous J13. And you can find me on Facebook, Jada Paramo. I am part of the Pop Culture Pros Network, where we talk movie, sports, stream, HBO Max and all that stuff. And you can find me on there on the Jada and Kyle Show, where we basically, Janine has been a guest multiple times, where we talk shop on an older film. Basically very kind of like this. We first, if it's a first-time guest, we kind of interview our guests, let them know how they found if it's Schmoedown related, how they found the Schmoedown, or how the Schmoedown found them. And then we do a deep dive in the film. Very fun show. Tune in, subscribe, like, whatever you can to help us out. We are a baby show. We are just starting. Yeah. So appreciate the love if you can give it to us, guys.
If either of you two ever decide to do a Charlie Chaplin film, hit me up.
All right.
Yeah. All right, Ryan, what about you?
Well, no, you guys can definitely find me and my co-host Ben here, part of the Schmoes of the North, with our show, Mount Schmoedown. If y'all check out our episode that we recorded yesterday, we actually covered Brendan Meyer's career, and special guest, we actually had Brendan Meyer on our show to talk to about his career, and also a special guest and we also had Paige Fabry of the Suspects on our show as well, just having like a great back and forth with the kid. It was a great conversation. I truly enjoyed it. You guys should definitely check it out. It's still fresh on here, but other than that, check Mount Schmoedown. We have check out our Twitter, Mount Schmoedown, and now part of the Schmoes of the North. I was going to say our YouTube channel, but we don't have any new episodes on there anymore.
All right, Ben, what about you?
You can find me at ManRanger2. Yeah. And
I took all the fanfare away.
Yeah. You can also find me at with Matt here on the Media Spanish Network. We do, I'll let him cover it. My brain's not working. I'm sorry.
Okay, so over on the Media Sweaties Network, we've got Recapping the Past for Ben and I, kind of like the kind of funny review thing where we do sitcoms, so we're doing them season by season, which is a lot of fun. Doing How I Met Your Mother, which is my favorite sitcom of all time.
Nice.
You like that ending?
Show. And then there's also Shooting the Breeze, where we just sit down and we just shoot the shit with a friend of ours from around the internet for about an hour on Thursdays. Our flagship show, Get Sweaty, which is just a top 5 show. Yesterday's episode was on top 5 meals, which was actually pretty cool because we learned a lot. One of our co-hosts is from Israel, so we learned a lot about food from his culture. And then we've got Sol, who's from Miami, so we learned about Cuban food. It was great.
The best.
I think
That's all we eat down here in Miami, man.
I can only imagine. I think most of us went and like gorged on food afterwards. Like it made us that hungry.
I know.
And, yeah, I did too. And then, of course, on this channel, you can find me on Schmoes of the North, Schmoedown 9 in Canada, and then on Northern Consultations, and also personally, Soda_the_Saxman on Instagram and Twitter. So, yes, thank you very much for joining us. This has been a lot of fun, just listening and picking your guys' brain and stuff like that. And everybody, don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you next week. And don't forget, guys, smash cancer.
Smash cancer.
Cancer.